How do we achieve that? And I suppose who leads that? You talk from a tech perspective, because you're right, it's not in your DNA necessarily, right up to the brand. But yes. Sorry, from a lot of tech companies, it's very difficult. So who kind of leads that charge, if you like, and how do we get everyone in a room besides this to discuss where we go and what we do as an industry?
Well, I think the point is that each individual client has to do that for themselves, especially the way things are at the moment, because there's nobody really moving these chess pieces around. There's nobody responsible for all of this. There are lots of trade bodies who may or may not talk to each other or do anything, or try and bring in standards like the MRC, for example. But there's no leader. Your point is correct. There is nobody leading that. Yeah. Therefore, what we tend to say to our clients is, you're going to have to do this for yourself. You're going to have to look after your own interests, pending some kind of industry consensus on all these matters. But don't wait around for that, because it's going to be a little while, because there is no natural leader of all of this.
An individual who has a quest to do such a thing, where do we stand?
The difficulty IOB have is that their funding model is based around publishers, and some of the biggest publishers happen to be Facebook and Google. So I guess if those guys decide that they think transparency is a really core part of their business, then obviously you'll see change, but I don't know whether that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, this is a real bugbear of mine. This notion of waiting for a central body to come in and police this industry into a point of where we can all trust each other more, versus being able to self-initiate that oneself. Because I truly believe that in this next phase of where this industry is going, it's the players that truly live a transparent mindset in all of their operations, which will be the ones that succeed. And I think even the big players. Last week, Facebook announced that they're moving from a complete black box model to a more transparent model. So
less untransparent.
Opaque. So I think even the big guys like Facebook are realizing that they need to be able to embrace this themselves and drive it from within in order to not lose share themselves.
I think the reality is that brands, agencies, and ed tech companies, those that are honorable and honest in their businesses, will lead the market forward. We've formed a body, but we're doing it with no horse in the race, acting as Switzerland and bringing brands, agencies, and the tech community together. Because your point about the IAB serving publishers is just right. They're going to do what's in the best interests of the publishers, and more importantly, in the best interests of those publishers that are writing the big checks, not necessarily, and the A&A and the 4As, for that matter, do the same thing for brands and agencies. So when we established our body, we did it to truly be Switzerland, without a horse in the race, to say someone's got to advance this, and we want to bring the market together to do it.
And how has that been so far in terms of trying to bring everyone together?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's U.S. focused, so certainly we need to grow it to be more of a global body. But there's about 70 companies involved, several of the holding companies. So from a buy side, there's great representation. Most of the bigger publishers on the broadcast side, the top 5 or 6 DSPs, SSPs, and DMPs, and data companies. So those that are truly most honorable in those respective categories were the first to raise their hand and say, yes, let's solve this together. And if nothing else, they have more credibility with the buyers, because they're stepping up and saying, we're willing to try and attempt to solve this problem. I think the next step, more than likely, is going to be something like blockchain that will come to bear. And with blockchain, a lot of the transparency issues will go away just by the very nature of the technology.